Hey everyone, welcome back. We always love, diving into the potential of blockchain. And today, well, today's a big one. We're going way beyond crypto, like way beyond. We're talking about engineering entire economies on the blockchain.
Yeah, this isn't just about, buying and selling tokens. This is about building new systems from scratch, like totally new.
Exactly. And you brought in some really fascinating research to help unpack this whole thing, all about modeling these blockchain-based economies.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, the title, it's a little intimidating, even for me.
Yeah, I get it. It sounds like you need a PhD to even understand it. But
Wow.
honestly, the core idea here, it's surprisingly elegant. Imagine like a set of tools that let you design a digital economy from the ground up, kind of like an architect designing a skyscraper. That's what this research is all about.
Okay, I like where this is going. So instead of just letting a digital economy just evolve, like on its own, we're talking about actually shaping how it works intentionally. But how do you even begin to engineer something that complex? I mean, an economy, even the digital one, it's exactly.
That's where the whole modeling thing comes in. The researchers have created like this framework, a way to actually represent these blockchain systems mathematically. Don't worry, we're not going full on equations here or anything.
Okay.
But this model, it helps us understand how all the different pieces fit together and how, changing one part can impact the whole system like a domino effect.
All right, you've piqued my curiosity. I'll give you that. Now let's talk specifics. What are the actual, key building blocks in this model?
So they break it down into 5 main elements: ledger state, agents, accounts, actions, and then mechanisms.
Those are some terms. We need to unpack these carefully.
Yeah.
I have the feeling we'll be hearing them a lot.
Absolutely. So imagine the blockchain's ledger state as this massive public ledger. Think like a library
Yeah.
filled with books, and every single page documents every transaction ever made in this economy. Who sent what to whom, when, why it's all there, open for anyone to see.
Okay, I'm picturing this incredibly detailed, transparent history
Mhm.
of every economic activity. It's like a giant digital library of commerce. That's kind of cool.
That's a great way to put it. Now, within this system, the agents, those are the players. They're the ones making things happen.
Okay.
These could be, individuals like you and me, or they could be automated programs, or even organizations, anything that can, interact with the blockchain.
So these agents, they're basically the lifeblood of our blockchain economy.
Yeah.
But they need a way to actually participate, right? What's the mechanism for that?
Accounts. Think of these like digital wallets or even smart contracts controlled by the agents. It's through these accounts that agents can, hold their digital assets, interact with different services, and basically participate in the economy.
So if I want to send you some tokens, say, for explaining these complex concepts so clearly,
I appreciate that.
we'd both need to have accounts on this blockchain.
Exactly. Now, what you just described, sending those tokens, that's an example of an action. Actions are all the things that agents can do within this economy. Buying, selling, trading, using a service, whatever, it all falls under actions.
So we've got our stage set, the ledger state, the actors,
Mhm.
our agents and their tools, the accounts. Then we have all the actions that they perform. But what ensures that everything runs smoothly? That no one cheats the system?
Mechanisms. Think of these as like the rules of the game, hard-coded into the blockchain itself.
Hmm.
They dictate how each action, like that token transfer, actually alters the ledger state. These rules ensure that everything happens, securely, transparently, and predictably.
This is starting to feel like a giant, complex game of chess.
Yeah.
Only instead of rooks and pawns, we're dealing with digital assets and transactions,
Yeah,
all governed by these unbreakable rules.
you got it. And just like in chess, understanding these basic building blocks, that's the first step to, mastering the game.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint
Mhm.
of this blockchain economy all laid out. Now I'm really curious, how does this actually play out in the real world?
So to illustrate this, the paper, it dives into Bitcoin as like a case study. They use something called a linear time expanding model.
Linear time expanding. It's a mouthful. It sounds like some kind of gadget Doc Brown would use, in Back to the Future.
Yeah, you're telling me. It's not the catchiest name, I'll admit that. But it's basically a way to represent mathematically Bitcoin's entire transaction history, like showing how it unfolds over time. And believe it or not, this model, it helps us understand something pretty amazing.
Okay, you got to hit me with it. I'm on the edge of my seat.
So it shows how Bitcoin's limited supply, the fact that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, it's actually mathematically guaranteed by this model.
Hold on. So it's not just some arbitrary limit. That's not much is programmed in.
At the beginning. Nope. Not at all, actually. It emerges organically from all those elements we talked about. The way transactions are structured, the block reward schedule. For miners, all those rules baked into the protocol, they all work together to create this upper limit.
So let me get this straight. Even if, like, every single miner in the world,
Right.
teamed up and used, like, all the computing power on Earth,
All of it, yeah.
they couldn't create a single Bitcoin over that 21 million limit.
Exactly. The system, it just won't allow it. It's
Oh, yeah.
impossible. And this model, it lets us actually see why that is in a really concrete way. We can trace how the rate of, new Bitcoin being created, it slows down
Mhm.
over time, eventually approaching zero.
See, that's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
But let's say I'm not content with just, like, analyzing Bitcoin. Let's say I have this brilliant idea for a brand new token economy.
Okay, all right.
Does this research, does it give me the tools to actually create something like that from scratch?
Totally. The researchers, they weren't just interested in explaining what already exists, They wanted to actually build a model that could be applied to ANY token economy with any purpose.
Okay, now we're talking. I'm ready to put on, like, my digital architect hat,
Yeah.
But where do we begin? Where do we start?
So they offer this simplified model to represent this new token economy. Picture a system where miners provide some valuable service. It could be anything, really, from processing transactions to storing data or even, running complex computations.
Oh, so kind of like those decentralized cloud computing platforms
Yeah.
that are, like, starting to pop up.
Yeah, exactly. The miners are rewarded with tokens for their work. And within this model, there are these three key factors that really influence how this economy kind of evolves.
All right, give me the big three then. What should I be, like, laser focused on as I design this, revolutionary token economy?
Okay, first up, you have the balance, right, between the supply and demand for that service that your miners are providing. So if there are too few miners and way too much demand, the cost of the service, it'll skyrocket, which could scare off users, but then too many miners, not enough demand, miners won't earn enough. To make it worthwhile, they'll start dropping out.
So it's all about finding that, like, that sweet spot, right, where both sides are incentivized to actually participate. What's next?
Second factor, token price. Now, this is interesting because it's influenced by both the internal workings of your economy
Right.
and external market forces.
So even in a perfectly designed system, my brilliant token, it could still get caught up in, like, a speculative bubble
Yeah.
or crash based on, whatever's happening in the wider crypto market.
It's the reality, unfortunately, of any asset, right, that has a fluctuating value, even digital ones. And then there's the third crucial factor, block rewards
Right, the actual tokens that, miners receive.
for their hard work. Right. And it's not just about how many tokens they receive, but also how often, and this is crucial, whether and how that reward changes over time.
Okay. I'm starting to see how even just, like, subtle tweaks to these three levers, service, supply, and demand, token price dynamics, and then the design of those block rewards, they could lead to, like, wildly different outcomes. For my token economy, did this research, did it actually, like, test out these different scenarios? I mean, did they, like, fire up a simulation and see what happened?
They did, and this is where it gets really, really fascinating. They ran these simulations with two distinct block reward schedules.
Okay, so spill the tea. What did the simulations show? Like, what happened when they played with those reward schedules?
This is why this research is so groundbreaking, honestly. So they tested a system similar to Bitcoin's, with those sudden steep drops in block rewards over time. And then they tested one where the rewards declined more gradually in a smoother curve.
So one's volatile, one's stable. So slow and steady wins the race. Right, that's what they say.
It's actually more nuanced than that. And that's what makes this so valuable, right? It challenges our assumptions. The simulations, they showed that those sudden drops, the ones that seem so chaotic, those actually led to a much more dynamic, faster growing economy, initially at least.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying a little chaos, it's actually good for a token economy?
That's what the model shows, yeah. It's kind of counterintuitive, but think about it. When those block rewards, when they plummet, but on this predictable schedule, it creates this sense of urgency.
Like a limited time offer. That
Yeah.
gets everyone rushing to get in on the action before it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. And that frenzy, right? That activity, it's driven by speculation, the fear of missing out, which drives up demand, which of course pushes up that token price, which then attracts even more miners who all want those juicy
It's a
rewards.
whole, like, self-reinforcing cycle of growth,
Wow.
powered by the very volatility that everyone's, like, afraid of. That's kind of wild. But there's got to be, like, a downside.
I mean, yeah, no,
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
right. Of course, there are always trade-offs, right? So while that volatility, it can lead to this explosive growth early on, it makes the system inherently more vulnerable.
Oh, so, like, those big booms, they could be followed by, like, equally big busts if the hype it dies down, or something like spooks the market.
Exactly. And that's what this model allows us to actually see, right? Those long-term risks, they aren't always apparent, especially when you're so caught up in the excitement of that rapid growth, you know? Now, the system with the smoother, the more gradual decline in the block rewards, that one it didn't see that same kind of like explosive
So
growth.
less risk, but also potentially less reward.
Yeah.
Sounds like a classic, like, tortoise and hare situation, right?
That's a great analogy. Yeah, it grew more slowly, but also more sustainably. And the researchers they found that it was less prone to like wild swings in the
Yeah.
token price, and it had a more like consistent rate of
Yes.
user adoption.
Okay. This is all starting to make so much sense. So if I'm, like, designing my dream token economy, right? I need to think about not just the services that I want to offer and the incentives for the miners, but, like, what kind of overall growth trajectory am I actually aiming for? Do I want it fast and furious, a high risk, but, potentially high reward, or do I want it slow and steady, hoping to build something that lasts a little longer?
Exactly. You got it. That's the power of this whole framework, right? It
Yeah.
gives you the tools to design with intention, really understanding those trade-offs that are involved in every decision.
This has been incredible. Really, like, I feel like I've learned almost like a whole new language for thinking about blockchain's potential,
Yeah.
beyond just cryptocurrency. But for our listeners who are, like, fired up and ready to build the next big token economy,
Mhm.
what are, like, the key takeaways, the need to know insights from this research?
I think the biggest takeaway is designing a successful token economy. It's all about understanding incentives and how those incentives, they influence everyone's behavior, right? The miners, the users, even the speculators just looking to make a quick buck.
It's about, like, creating this ecosystem where everyone's motivated to participate
Right.
in a way that benefits, like, the whole system.
Yeah, exactly. And the second, like, crucial insight is that the way you design those block rewards, those incentives for the miners, they have like ripple effects throughout the entire system. A small tweak to that reward structure can lead to like dramatically different outcomes from the token price to, the overall stability of that whole economy.
So you can't just, like, copy and paste what's worked before.
Yeah.
Even if it's something as, seemingly successful as Bitcoin, you have to design with those long-term consequences in mind.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this whole area of research so exciting. It's not just about understanding like what's already happened. It's about, giving us the tools to
Yeah.
shape the future
Huh.
of digital economies.
This conversation, it's really got my gears turning, especially as someone who's just fascinated by blockchain's potential to create, like, new models for everything,
Hmm.
from, online communities to, like, the creator economy. What do we use these principles to design systems that incentivize, like, collaboration, innovation, even, like, social good? The possibilities, I mean, they feel endless.
They really do. And that's the beauty of this whole field. We're still in the early days. But with tools like these, we can start to imagine and build a future where digital economies, they're designed to actually empower everyone, not just a select few.
I love ending on that note of optimism and possibility. As always, a huge thank you to you for sharing your insights today. It's been
My
incredible.
pleasure. It's always a joy to dive deep into this stuff with you.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us. On this deep dive, we'll catch you next time for another exploration of the frontiers of knowledge.